Hi, everybody. Happy Palm Sunday. We're going to do a little Easter bag tonight, so we have to get ready for Easter. So hopefully the comments will come through tonight. We'll take a look here. So make sure you say something when you come in. I keep getting texts though. My phone's still going ding 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 down here. Make sure it's nothing I have to know about. Oh, Teresa, I see Teresa's event, or Teresa's, sorry, my nose itches. I was working with the batting and the batting makes me itch. Oh, good. Everybody's I can see your comments. That's awesome. I like it when I can see your comments because then I can't it's bigger on my computer. Oh, the text is from me. Lynn was the one that was texting me and it was going ding ding down here. So how is everybody this week? It's a beautiful day. It's kind of cool though. I think the sun came out this afternoon, so it seems a little warmer now. The house seems cool today. So I've been working all day. I've been working on I think I've got most of the April classes done now. We're not going to have class next week. Next week is Easter, so I am going to take Easter Sunday off. So we won't have a class next week. So we won't have a software class this month. So at the end of April, though, so the week after Easter, we're going to make a purse. So this is the purse I've been working on. I'll hold it up so you can see it. So this was the second purse I made. I made a Cubs purse, the first one. And I kind of like this one better because what I did, and so what I would tell you when you get ready to get your fabric cut, I would recommend cutting if you're using cotton fabric, this is just cotton fabric, use some shape flex on the fabric and then the fusible fleece. And I'll talk about that in class too. But I did use shape flex and I really like that because it just gave it a little body. And now it stands up by itself because otherwise that clasp is pretty heavy. It's big. So yeah, I love the Mickey Mouse. I like the Mickey Mouse one. I got this fabric. I think I got it at Walmart probably. And I know I got the polka dots there. So yeah, so it turned out really cute. And then my lining is polka dotted too. So yeah, so I had a little trouble with the first one. We had a little trouble with the that clasp is very large, and so I got it. Where did I find the Mickey Mouse fabric? I think I got it at Walmart. I think it was at Walmart in Anamosa probably. Yep, they always have Mickey Mouse fabric, so I think I'm pretty sure that's where I got it. And then I think I've got some Minnie Mouse fabric too. So, but I just thought it was cute because, you know, I work in a store where we have Disney machines. But yeah, it was really fun. But the clasp was a little tricky. So we're going to have a whole class on just putting the clasp in because it's a lot different than putting in those smaller ones because it's so big. And I learned a couple of things that I had to do to get it in. So anyway, that one's going to be the week after Easter. So that must be the 11th, right? The 11th of April. And then and so for 2 weeks, so we'll sew 1 week and then we'll put the clasp in the next week, give you a chance to sew, okay? And then the next week we're gonna have a scan and cut class, and we're gonna make this little shadow box. You know, everybody loved the shadow box with the jingle bells in it. So this one I put the rolled roses in. So we're gonna put this one in. We're gonna do this one at the end of April. So it'd be like the 11th, the 18th, and then the 20th, 25th or whatever it is. It's the last Sunday in April. So I just put up the event, and then I'll put I haven't got the materials uploaded to Dropbox yet. I put the link on it, but I haven't got them there. So if you're looking for them, I will put them up after class tonight. I ran out of time, so what is the date? I was just gonna look and make sure I got it right. Can't get back to April. There we go. April 25th. So that'll be that. Yep, thank you. So yep, so that'll be that. It was really fun. I love making these roses, and these are done with the rolled paper, and then this is done with vinyl in the front, and then there's some paper in the back too. So it was really fun. that was my project for today. Okay, so we have a lot to do tonight, so we're going to get started right away. I think we got quite a few people in here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to move the camera over. So this is going to be kind of a combination class. We're going to start with the scan and cut, do a little fabric cutting with the scan and cut, because this little project, this little Easter egg project, was one of the very first. Oh, Lynn says I can make her roses for her. She had a little trouble with the rolled roses. So the Easter egg was this is one of the very original scan and cut projects they ever had. And it is so cute. So it is done with the old original CM550. So it's done with one of the old ones. So it talks about the blades and, turning your blade to a certain thing. And we're going to do this with the new one, but if you have one of the older ones, obviously you can do it. Now, if you don't have a scan and cut, it's fine. I will show you how to make the project without the scan and cut. You don't need to, okay? You don't need to have it. So the pieces that you cut for your appliques, for those of you who do not have a scan and cut and who are not cutting these out, just leave your pieces of fabric the size they tell you to cut them, and you do not need to put any heat and bond on the back. Those of us using the scan and cut, I have put heat and bond light, which is the the type you can sew through, the heat and bond, and that is the best stuff for the scan and cut. It seems to work the best. And then these are the two pieces. So you just leave these pieces. For those of you not using the scan and cut, you do not need heat and bond. Just leave them this size. And then I will show you how to do that in the machine. And then for us, I've got heat and bond light on these two pieces, this purple and this green. Okay? So I'm gonna move my camera over here. We're gonna start out on the scan and cut. I've been playing with my scan and cut all day. I like playing with my scan and cut. I don't get to do it that often, so I think I'm going to try to do a scan and cut class every month, because then it gives me the excuse to use my scan and cut as well. Oh, you have a nice picture there of my new PR. Okay, so we're going to go down here to the scan and cut. And I am going to, hopefully I can see okay. I might actually move this over just a second here. I might move my computer over because I have trouble positioning the camera sometimes with the scan and cut, so then I can see what's going on here. I'm just going to move my computer around here. Okay. All right, so hopefully everything is still working. That's awesome. Okay. I really like my scan and cut. It is very fun. I like to craft. I used to spend a lot of time crafting, and so this has made me do craft projects again, which I've really enjoyed. Okay, so in the instructions, the scan and cut portion is done. She gave you in the instructions a little paper, and make sure when you print this out, okay, so I've got this right here. When you print this out, make sure you print it out at the actual size. That's very important. So make sure you have it printed at actual size. The other thing she said in the instructions is that she had already mirrored these. So they are mirrored. So that, remember, I usually cut my fabric with the fabric down on the mat. So these are already mirrored. So I don't have to mirror them in the machine. They're already done. Okay. So what I did is I printed this out at actual size. I have my scanning mat. Now I like to put stuff like this usually in a scanning mat because there's no stick-em on here, So I have my scanning mat for that. I'm going to go ahead and load my scanning mat here. I'm going to lay my hand down on the mat, and then I'll put it up here, and I'm going to hit the little button to load the mat. And these first screens are going to be pretty much the same whether you have an older machine or a newer machine, okay? Just making sure I can still see my comments, okay. All right, so at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to hit the scan button. So we need to scan this picture in. And I want to scan to cut data. If I do direct cut, that means that I'm scanning and then I'm going to cut on the same piece of paper. So that is not what I want to do this time. You can also scan to a USB. I want to scan to cut data. The other thing I use quite often is this transfer to canvas. I often will scan something in the machine and then send it to Canvas Workspace to work on it a little bit. The machine is a very good scanner, and I find that that really works really well. So I often use that too. But tonight we're going to use scan to cut data. So I'm going to click that button, and it gives me several options, or an option here of either monochrome mode, or like black and white mode, or there's a color mode. In this case, obviously we have a black and white photograph, so I'm going to use the black and white mode, and I'm just going to hit start. And I do have my scanning now. Whoops. This next one always tells you need to have your lever in position 2, which is the one up, I think, and then you just hit start again. They added a couple of new little warnings to the scan and cut, so it's a little bit weird. So, all right. So hopefully the mat won't hit me here. So it's going to come up here on the screen. Takes a second for it to think. I'm going to see if I can get just a little closer. I get glare if I get too close to this, so hopefully you can see it okay. All right, so now you can see our egg there. Now the first thing I want to do, just a second here, I just bonked my machine. I want to trace this. And in the instructions, I believe she used, I'm just going to check to make sure, yeah, the outline. Make sure she used that one in the instructions. I'm just going to choose outline because that's all these are, is their applique outlines. Now I often need to trace like something inside and outside, and that would have been the second button. We will use that in the Rolled Roses shadow box. So, but then I also want, you notice there's a bunch of junk here we don't need. So I'm going to crop as much of this junk out and just get what I need here, which is my egg parts. Okay, so crop that out, and that looks pretty good. All right, so now I've just got the 3 pieces that are my egg parts. I'm going to preview it. And I think that looks pretty good. I think I got all the junk out of there that I didn't want, and I'm going to hit OK. And at that point, you're done with the tracing. So I'm going to save this in my machine. I don't have a USB stick in my machine. And remember, these were already mirrored, so we don't need to mirror these to cut these because they've already been mirrored. And then my number, I just make a note of this number. This is number 19. Okay? So that was how to make the pattern for the cutting. I mean, that was pretty simple, wasn't it? I'm just going to hit the home button up here. You draw this back just a little bit so you can see the whole screen. I'm just going to hit the house button because remember, we saved it in the machine. I'm going to unload this mat, and we don't need the scanning mat anymore. Okay. I just thought this was fun. And there's another one of these too. I believe it's a little teddy bear holding a heart. If I remember correctly. I'm hoping that I can find it because I think it's still up there as well. But these are really cute little projects. So, okay. So now we are going to cut the fabric. So for those of you with the newer machines, we have this wonderful new, I'm going to pull this back so you can see it. It's kind of gold down here. This is the wonderful new fabric mat. And I love this because it is super, super sticky without those little sheet things on it. If you still have an older CM series machine, you will have to use your medium or low tack adhesive or low tack mat with a high tack adhesive sheet for fabric. Otherwise, it will not hold your fabric. If you're not using those high tack adhesive sheets on those older machines, your fabric will not stick to a mat. It's just too porous and it doesn't stick. But this new mat for the newer machines is awesome. And I'm going to keep this thing closer because we don't want to touch any paper with this. It's very, very sticky. So I am going to go ahead, I think I'm just going to go ahead and load my mat here real quick and just put it in the machine because then we can put the fabric on it in the machine. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my design. So let's go back up here to the screen. Hopefully you can see it. Okay. I'm going to go up here to, I'm going to retrieve my data. So this is the bottom button, because remember we put it in the machine. So I'm going to hit the machine, and it was number 19. So I'm going to scroll down till I get to number 19, and it'll be different on yours probably. Okay. So here is the design right here at the end. Okay. So there's those 3 pieces. Oh, didn't hit it hard enough. Sorry, my fingers don't always work on the screen. There we go. And then I'm going to hit OK. Give me a second here. I need to turn my fan on. Okay, and hit OK. So at this point, I have 3 pieces here. So I have this top piece, I have this middle piece, and I have this bottom piece. And they are already mirrored, so we know that they are turned the correct way. So we don't have to do anything with those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fabric down here on the mat. The green is going to have the little piece and the bottom piece on it. Okay, and then the purple is going to have the center piece on it. So I'm just going to lay these down on the mat face down, and anywhere is fine. Whoops, I'm going to put those here. And I like my little brayer for fabric, because then I can make sure that I've got it adhered well to the fabric, or to the mat. Okay. And then we'll put the other little piece maybe down here. I'll have to put my hand under here to get this one on. Okay, so that's the purple. Now these are amply large, so you will have plenty of room. In fact, I think I got 2 sets out of the first ones I did. So I'll show you. We're going to do a little scanning here, and then we can make sure that we don't waste any of the fabric if you'd like to make another one. Okay. So what we need to do now, on the same screen that I'm on, I've got the 3 pieces there, but we need to know where these pieces of fabric are on the mat. So I'm going to hit the scanning button and start, and it's going to scan what's on my mat. That way we can place those designs where we want them. All right, let's see. So you can't probably see it very well on the screen. You can kind of see it, the dark one down here especially. So that's the piece I want. I want this one on the green, and I want this kind of curved one on the purple. So I'm going to pull it down. I can easily see the purple, and I'm just going to bring it up towards the top of it so I don't waste any fabric. And there's enough room actually on the bottom to do a second one if I wanted to. And then this one, this bigger piece here, I'm going to pull it down to the bottom of the fabric, and then I'm going to pull the little piece in on top of it, like that. So then there's room on the top of that fabric to actually do another one. So I'm just going to pull it on there, make sure that it fits fully onto the fabric. I think that looks pretty good, and this one might be touching, so you need to move it up just a little bit, like that. And I usually just move them with my finger. It doesn't matter where they are. That looks pretty good. I think we'll be fine with those. So I've got them on the fabric that I want them on. So I wanted these 2 pieces. I'll show you the ones I've cut. So here's the squiggly lined one, and here's the little top of the egg. So those are on the green, and then the other kind of straight one is on purple. All right. So at this point, I think I'm ready for this. I'm going to go to the cutting screen. Now the cutting screen, the first thing I want to do before I go on is, again, I have on the back of this fabric, remember I said the Heat and Bond Light, that's the stuff you can sew through. Okay, so I have that on the back and it's adhered. I try to leave the paper on if I can. There's times when the paper will come off. If it gets kind of dry in the winter, sometimes it wants to come off on me, but this has been staying on pretty well, so, okay. And the other thing I want to do is I want to change my blade. So for those of you using the DX models, the newer models, this is a standard auto blade, the one with the black, okay? And you see I have the letter F on it. This means this is the one I use for fabric only. I have that standard auto blade in there. And I'm going to change out my regular blade that I cut, you know, my paper and my vinyl and all that stuff with for my fabric blade. And for those of you who are using the older machines, oh, it's going to be contrary here. Sometimes they get contrary and don't want to be put the blades in. Okay, so we'll just pick cut first. Sometimes it's better after that. I don't know why. Okay, I picked cut over here on the screen. Okay, so up here where it says please select, I select cut. All right. And then let me see if I can get my blade back in. My blade's being contrary. I don't know why. Let's go back. And let's see, click OK. For some reason it's being contrary. Sorry, guys. It does not want to latch down. The other one was fine. See, it won't either now. Interesting. So, you know what? We'll just, I've got it saved, so let's just start again. If nothing else, start again. We scanned, let's see. I'm going to retrieve my data again. Let's try that again. It always happens on live camera, you know. So it's a good thing though, because then you can see what I'm doing a second time. So I'm going to go get that design one more time. And I was hoping maybe it would reset. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to turn this off and turn it back on again. Maybe it just needs to reset. Because it's like the blade is too low. It's kind of weird. I think it needs to do its little gyration that it does at the beginning. Come on. There we go. Okay, there we go. Now it's happy. All right, so we'll try this again. Get the mat in here. It doesn't happen very often. I don't think I've had that happen before. But you got to see how I fixed it. I think it's okay now. So then we're going to go back to our machine. I'm going to go down to the bottom and get that design. Right here. And I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to scan because I want to know where my fabric is. So since I turned it off, I have to rescan. Pam, this is the same blade and blade holder right here that I use for everything else, but I have a blade and blade holder here. This is the one I use for everything else, and this one I just mark for fabric. I don't like to have to take the blade out and in and out and in and out of the holder. I have two holders and two blades, but it is the same, yes. Okay. All right, so now I can put my designs back on here. Find my little stick. So the plain one goes down here, and the little wavy one goes up here. So you probably can just barely see the fabric, but I can see it pretty well. Bring this down. Make sure I can see that. That looks good. And let's bring this one down. Maybe bring this one down at the bottom here. I think that should be good. Okay. I think that'll be good. Looks like it's all on the fabric. Okay. So we'll hit OK again. Now let's see if it'll let me put the blade in. So this is my blade that has my fabric blade in it. Okay, and we'll slide this into the holder and flip the little flipper. See, it just needed to be restarted. It's all happy again. All right, so then we're going to hit please select. I'm going to select cut because that's what I'm going to do today. And I always like to look at my settings here, so I'm not sure if you can read these real well. It takes 1 minute to cut these. The pressure is on auto, which is where I want it because I want the blade to set itself. I put my speed on about 3. I don't like to cut real fast, especially with fabric. And then the half cut is off. So we will use the half cut when we cut the vinyl. but the half cut is off for this because we do want it to cut all the way through. And then the blade settings, for those of you who are using older machines, the blade would be, yeah, Lynn asked what the blade setting is. So if I were to use my older machine, I would be using the standard blade, which was the teal colored one. And I would use the blade set on 4 or 5, depending on my fabric. And then you also need to change the pressure setting in the settings. So like if I hit this little wrench here, the pressure setting here says pressure auto, because I've got an auto blade, but underneath there, this is the manual blade. And on the blade, the older machines, the pressure for fabric, you have to have more pressure. So it's usually 4 or 5 for the pressure. Normally, I do the blade on 4 or 5 and the pressure on 4, usually. So what, it just depends a little bit. So I usually do a test cut when I am using my older machines, because that way I know if it's going to go all the way through and it's going to cut cleanly. So the blade will be on 4 or 5 and the pressure will be on 4 or 5. Those of us with auto blades, we don't have to do that. It's all going to set it for us. Okay? Making sure I got all the questions. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK. So on my machine, my DX, I do not need to change any pressure settings. Okay? So at this point, honestly, I really feel that this is going to cut fine. Although I thought the blade would go in fine. So we're just going to go for it and not test cut. If you want to test cut, you would hit here, the test, and then it would do it like a little square. You can test it to make sure it works, and then you can go ahead and finish your cut. But we're just going to go for it. So I'm going to hit start. And I think the gal that did this had about the same settings and stuff that I did. She used her pressure on 5. I think normally my pressure was on 4, but she said 5, and that, that's usually somewhere around where I use. And then my blade setting was at 4 or 4.5 is what she said, and that's about what mine is. So she did everything about the same as I did. Okay, so it's doing the second one. But it is kind of fun to cut out the stuff sometimes. I don't always do it, but sometimes it's fun. Okay, so here is our fabric. It has been cut. Let's see how we did. So I'm going to pull this up. Just face down. So see, I still have room on there to make another one. I think I kind of missed on the second one, so that's okay. I have another piece up here. So here's my little piece I'm going to use tonight. So I'll set that aside. And then here's the squiggly one that we're going to use tonight. And I'll set that aside. And then here's the purple one. For some reason, I must have accidentally pulled it up, so I did it right in the middle. But you know what? It doesn't matter. So here's the purple one. There we go. So we got all of our pieces cut out. So wasn't that easy to do? You just scan the little picture. You do have to make sure you get it at an actual size. So when you print it, actual size. And then we are going to start sewing. All right, so what I'm going to do is eject this mat. I want to get that plastic over it so I don't touch anything with it and get it permanently stuck to it. Okay. And you can still use those older blades in this machine, and I still do. There are times when I use my older blades. I like to set my own blade. I've been doing it for a long time, and so it doesn't bother me. And so I will explain that a little bit more when we do the shadow box, because I sometimes do use my regular blades. So, okay? All right. So now we're ready to sew. So you're going to have to give me a second. I'm going to have to move my camera again. Just a second. We'll move the camera back over here to the sewing machine. And then we're already ready to sew over here. Now I have to say, the instructions for this, the person who digitized this was much different than other bags like this that I have done in the past. So give me just a second. I have to move my computer back around so I can see your comments. I always have to be very careful not to unplug the camera. So I'm always real careful when I move it. Okay, just a second here. We're just about around. Okay. So is everybody with me so far? If you were going to cut with your scanning cut, have you got your little pieces cut? They're pretty simple. I really like the tracing in the machine is very good. So I actually use that quite a lot. All right, so let's get this a little bit lower. This is done in a 5x7 hoop. The one thing she did call for was cutaway. And I actually did use cutaway, but I used no-show mesh instead of the thicker cutaway. It seemed kind of heavy to me, and this bends a lot better. It's not very big, and I thought maybe it would be kind of dense. So here's what we're going to make. Okay, so here's those pieces we cut out. This piece, and this piece that we just cut out. Okay. Oh, starting over. Lynn must not have gotten hers on the mat enough, so she said she's starting over. Well, you know, I've done that lots of times, Lynn. It's no problem. Okay, so this is what we're going to work on. She does this very differently than other bags that I've done. So everybody's job tonight is to remind the teacher to open the zipper before I put the back on, okay? Don't let me go past opening the zipper, because I have done that many times. And you guys are you guys are in charge of me tonight, okay? So that we don't leave that zipper shut. Okay, so I really enjoyed this because it was different. It was done very differently. So the first step in the machine is going to be a placement line for the zipper. So I put in my purple. She just recommended putting in a dark thread, but of course you can see it really well. So we're just going to put in, I have purple in there, and we're going to sew out number 1. I have a number 11 needle in, and I have bobbin thread and bobbin. And this is going to be a placement line for our zipper. But I will be reading these directions very carefully, because it is done differently, and I want to make sure I don't show you wrong. So I remember I was really reading the directions carefully when I was doing this. Okay, so there's our little placement lines. And it says to lay the closed zipper, and the other thing I would tell you, make sure you press or iron your zipper a little bit. This zipper had been in a package quite some time, and it was terribly bent. And if they're very flat, it's much easier to deal with the zippers, okay? So it says to lay the zipper flat, zipper side up, between the lines with the zipper pull to the left, so over here, okay? Then it says pull both ends of the zipper should be hanging off the sides of the hoop, tape the zipper in place. Now she taped it on the top, and this is why. I first thought, well, oh gosh, she's only taping it one place, and I don't know if this is going to work. Well, the reason she is we're going to be sewing first down here, okay, and that's why there's no tape, because then I had to pull the tape out. If I would have just read the directions, right? So I'm going to put tape across here. I've got some of my Kimberbell paper tape that I'm using. This works really well. Doesn't leave residue, and it holds real well. Okay, so we're going to tape the zipper in first. Now normally, whoops, I think this one slipped just a little bit. Normally, you know, at this point we put it back in the machine, right? And then like sew the zipper in. Well, that's not what she says to do. Okay, we're not at step number 2 yet. The next step here, so here's the zipper done with the tape. The next step says turn your hoop over, and I was like, what? Turn your hoop over so you're looking at the back, and lay the lining bottom on the back side of the stabilizer, right side towards the stabilizer. The bottom edge of the lining will align with the lower zipper placement line. Okay, so in other words, we're working with this part of the egg right now. Okay, so we're going to take this out of the machine. I've got this taped down, so it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, I'll push it down really well. I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to take the smaller piece. Now, I lined mine with the same fabric as the outside, so you can do any kind of lining you want. This is the lining. So I'm going to take this up here, move it over so you can see. Okay, and we're gonna line this up with the lower zipper line, because it's going to end up flipping down this way. Okay, so I'm going to put the right side down. I'm going to line that up with the lower zipper line. Okay, and then we're going to tape that on with the paper tape. She did use a lot less steps. I mean, this does actually work really well. I was a little scared about, you know, things flipping around on me and stuff, but once I did it, I was like, oh, that works really great. Okay, so there's my lower one, and so I'm going to flip this over, and then we're going to press down to make sure that it's well adhered to the back. And then it's sticking up here. See, can you see it? Okay. And then step 3 says, turn your hoop over to the front, which we have. On the front side of the hoop, lay the front fabric, the bottom part of it, and that's kind of the square, it's like 7 by 7. Right side towards the stabilizer in the same position as the lining. Okay, so we're going to line it with this lower part here, okay? And it says to pin or tape. So I'm just going to use the tape. Here's my other piece. This is the same size. It's like 7 by 7. And I'm going to do that on the top here, right over the zipper. Make sure everything's lined up here. Because I thought, oh my gosh, what is she doing? So I really had to read. The first time I made this, I'm like, oh, this is really, but after I did it, it's like, oh, this is really cool. It saves a lot of steps. You don't have to, I mean, you know, you really only need to sew it once, right? All right, so we're going to tape that down with the paper tape. Make sure everything's lined up down there. And then you're going to be careful that everything's laying flat back here, okay? Is that lining or outside? Okay, so my lining and my outside are the same color. So the lining is on the back, Jan. The front is on the top. So, but they are, as you can see up here, they're right sides together. So one's on the back of the hoop and one's on the front of the hoop. Okay, and the zipper's in between here. All right. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this back in the machine. And she just left her purple thread in. It doesn't matter. You can change your thread if you want to. Make sure everything's laying flat up here. Then turn the page. And she said stitch 2, which return the hoop to the machine and stitch out the next step, number 2. This secures the lower half to the zipper. All right, so we're ready to stitch this out. I'm just going to leave the purple, and you could change it to like yellow, or, you know, I've got yellow fabric, but you could change it if you wanted to. I'll save the purple in, that's what she did. And it's going to sew all this down. So see, you know, we only had to sew it one time. Instead of having it, you know, sewing it twice, we only sewed it once. So it was just different way of doing this. And she did a nice triple stitch on there. Okay? Okay. So then it says place the front, whoops, I got to make sure I'm on the right side. Place the front bottom piece of batting, and this was also something different for me. I'd never done it this way. Place the front bottom piece of batting on the stabilizer below the zipper and fold down the fabric over the top of the batting. Be sure the fabric is taut. Pin in place. I use tape instead. On the back, leave the lining as it is. Do not fold it down yet, because we're going to sew through the batting, but not through the backing. So the backing's going to stay up. I am going to pull this tape off of here, so I don't fold the tape down into my stuff. So I am going to pull this tape off. Just a second, I'll have to pull this up. I kind of overshot my tape at the top a little bit. That's okay. So I'm just going to pull this tape off. Sometimes I need my glasses when I do this. I can't always find all the tape. I don't like to leave it inside though, because it kind of crinkles. Alright, so we're going to pull that tape off. I think I've still got a little piece. Put my glasses on, Jan. There we go. I can get hold of it that way. Looks better. There we go. Okay. So then it says to put that batting in. And I've never done batting this way either. I've always done it a different way. So we'll try, this is new. So I'm going to take the batting. and it was the square piece. I think it was around 6 by 6 or so. And I'm going to lay it down like right underneath where that line is, you know, that I just sewed. And I'm going to pull this top part down. And you want the batting to kind of stay up in there. So I'm just going to kind of stick it up in there and pull this down. And just finger press it a little bit. Make sure the batting stayed in there well. Like that. Okay, we'll put this back in the machine. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm just going to tape this down at the bottom. You could pin it. She pinned it, I think. I don't like to pin, so I usually use the tape. I'm just taping it to the frame up here. And you want it to be pretty taut. I am going to hold it a little bit. Okay? And then stitch, it says to stitch number 3, which is stitch the next step, which are the applique placement lines for the Easter egg stripes. And she just left the purple in, which is fine, because they're all going to be covered up anyway. So we're just going to leave the purple in. You can see better. And I just left my purple in. So I'm going to put this down. And the next step, as you can see on the machine, if you can see it over here, here's the little stripes. So we're going to put the stripes on. And these are the placement lines. Alright. So we'll do those with purple so you can see them. So this is going to be the lower part. Oops. Looks like my machine unthreaded. We'll try that again. We'll back it up. You're getting to see me do all kinds of stuff tonight. Alright. So it's going to do the placement lines. And this is the one that at the top is that kind of purplish one. So I am kind of holding my fabric down just so it stays nice and taut. You don't want it to get all wrinkly. Okay, and then it's going to go down and it's going to do the one down here at the bottom too. But they didn't, she also didn't, you know, like sew the batting down. So the batting is just laying in there, but it's now sewing it down. Now she did not do any like stippling or quilting in here, and she could have. That would have been cute, and it looks just fine without it. But that would have been another option, is that she could have actually quilted it and then done the applique. And you know, when I get done with this color, I'm noticing something. I don't know if you can see it. I'm kind of got a funny little stitch there. I think I'm just going to put a new needle in. So see, now you get to watch me do that. So every now and then, I think I forgot to change the needle after we did our placemats the other night. So you know, we were sewing through those little straw placemats. So let's just put a new needle in, because it just sounds a little different. I use a nickel. That's my favorite screwdriver. And this will be a good lesson, because this is something that people really, really need to remember to do. Once you change a needle, especially if it breaks, you know, flat side to the back, I am going to give this just a little turn, don't over tighten. And then before I'm going to thread this machine, I am going to go needle down and needle up. All right, that is very important, so that you know your needle is all the way in the upright position before you try to thread it. Then you won't break your needle thread. Okay, so if you are going to, at this point, do this with the pre-cut pieces that we have done, I'll have to move the camera here again too. We're going to take this out of the machine, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to put in, the first one is going to be the purple. So we're going to take this out of the machine, and I'm going to lay this on my little wool pressing mat over here. And whoops, I got a little tail sticking out here too. We'll get that out of the way. And I'm going to move this camera up just a little bit so you can see me iron. And what I'm going to do is I am going to place this piece in that top section. I think it's just going to do, place the applique fabric pieces. Oh, they want you to do both of them. So I am going to do both of them. So the first one is this purple one. And I'm going to line it up in the lines and try to be very exact. I know you can't see this very well, but I can't move the camera anymore. So I'll show you when I get it done. Then I'm going to take my little, I love my little iron, because see, this little iron will fit in the hoop, and then I'm going to iron this down. So that has that heat and bond on it. And I'm going to press that down to my fabric so it won't move. And just make sure that it's lined up very, very close in there. Okay, and sometimes I can move it around just a little bit with my thumb. If I think I got it a little bit off, like I'm a little bit low, so I'm just going to pull it up just a little while that stuff's still not real hard. There we go, that looks better. You want it to really cover those lines, okay? So here's the first one. Okay, so there's the first one. Got them in the lines. You want to be very exact. Then I'm going to do the second one. This is the squiggly one, that's green. So we're going to do that one too. We want to get it very exact and press it down. And like I said, you can move it a little bit if you need to. I got a little off, so we're going to be want to be very exact. But I just love this little iron. It's up on the website, so if you don't have one of these, they're, I don't know, $23, $24, and they're great because they fit in the hoop. They'll even fit in a 4x4. You know, it's so small, and it's so nice because then it goes in all the hoops, because you can't get a regular iron in these smaller hoops. And I use smaller hoops a lot. Okay, so I'm a little off over here. I'll pull that just a little bit. But you do want to be quite exact. Okay. All right, so there are our two applique pieces. Okay, there's our two applique pieces in there on the fabric. Now, if you did not have the scan and cut to cut these out, and you're using your bigger pieces of fabric, at this point, see the next thing up on here on the screen is the satin stitches. Well, you need to tack this down, right? So all you have to do is hit the negative positive needle down here on your machine, and you need to back it up one stitch and do the same stitch that we use for a placement line again, and that will tack those down, and then you can trim them close to the stitches like we've always done. Does that make sense to everybody? So you just have to back up, put your fabric down, back up, and then stitch those placement lines, and then you'll trim in the hoop. Okay, so you can still do that. When she digitized this, she digitized it for you putting the fabric in that you've cut. So you just have to back up and use those lines again. All right, and we'll do that again when we do the little top part. All right, so does that make sense to everybody? So I need to go back down to my satin stitches, and then after you've backed up, done it again, then you'll have your satin stitches ready. Okay. All right. So I think everybody understands. Does everybody understand that? You just have to back up and do it again. Okay, so now I'm ready for satin stitching. And I think I did my satin stitches in purple. Yep, I did. So I'm just going to leave my purple in there. And I'm on my satin stitches, and away we go. So it's going to satin stitch those down to the fabric. And it does quite a nice job. It actually goes over it and has a line on the bottom. It actually goes through quite well, so everything covers up pretty well. But like I said, it's just as easy to do this without the scan and cut. I just wanted to use it because that's how it originally was. I'm going to stop this just a second because my thread spool's deciding it's going to be open. I don't want it to catch. So I'm going to watch it a little bit. Okay, so it's going over the satin edges. It is kind of fun to do it this way, but if I were to do these, a bunch of these, I would probably just trim in the hoop. It's very easy. And of course, I also checked very carefully to make sure my lining is still sitting up here. So when you put your machine, your hoop back in your machine, make sure that lining is not caught underneath, because we don't want it. Of course, you know, I've done that before many times. Caught the thing on top underneath. So we're going to do, and then we're getting ready to do all the pretty fun flowers on here. So I'm going to stitch the whole thing out tonight. So we won't get done till about 7:30. Once you get past the front part, the rest of it goes really fast. It's just the front. There's some flowers, and the satin stitching takes a few minutes. Are there any other questions? Is everybody understanding what we've been doing so far? And I think I'm using Brother colors. This was what, 6, this is 613, I think is what the color is. I think it's 613. I can't remember. I wanted lavender, but I didn't have any lavender fabric, so I had to use more of a purple, so. But I thought it turned out really cute. It was a very fun project. Yeah, I really wanted to stitch it all out, Jan, so it will take a little bit longer. I thought about doing, like, you know, a partial one, but I really feel like if I just do the whole thing from start to finish, you won't get lost anywhere, so. Because the pattern was quite different in comparison to other projects that I've done like this, so. I used no-show mesh, that is correct. She actually used cutaway, with like a medium cutaway, I think is what she called for it. Yeah, medium cutaway. I thought it was kind of stiff, Lynn, so I used mesh, yes. And by the way, you will need another piece of mesh for one of the last steps, so make sure you have an extra piece of mesh cut. Like I think it tells you to cut a piece of mesh there. Have an extra piece somewhere, I think it says. I don't know if it does or not, but you have to have another piece of mesh at the end. Try not to burn my hand on my little iron over here. And then it's going to do the next one's going to be these little swirling in here. Looks like it's covering it really well. Personally, I think it would be just as easy to trim it in the hoop, but I just thought it was a fun class to do with both machines, so you can see, you know, how you can use the two of them together. Because I do this is the kind of, you know, I use the two of them together a lot like this, so. Doing appliques and that type of thing. Okay. So there's the purple, and then we're going to switch over, and I did this one in the green. So this is step number 5 in the machine. And I think I used this one. I think it was this one, yeah. Let's try to get the right color. So we're going to do the satin stitching on the little squiggly line here. So are there how many people are sewing? Are there some people sewing along tonight? This is a really fun project to sew on. So we're going to do the other applique here. Satin stitching. Oops, I don't want to lose my other piece here. Yeah, it is. It's done really differently. I had never done a project like this before. She did less stitches. Like, you know, when you put all that, you do the same thing at the top. When we go to put the top of the egg on, you do all of it at the same time with just one stitch, which is cool, you know. Yeah, I'm sorry, Teresa. I do kind of sew fast, don't I? I try not to, but it's one of those things. I mean, I can't make the machine go any faster. So. All right, let's see. So the green, and then it does, the flowers. I did my flowers in pink. because I had yellow fabric, so I did pink flowers. Lynn says she's trying to sew, but she had to back up and recut it. I've done that lots of times, Lynn. Today I spent a lot of time on the shadow box. I was having a really hard time. I'll have to show everybody what I did. So I was so proud I got it all on here, got this all on, and got it all straight and everything. I thought, oh gosh, that looks really nice. And then I turned over the box. Look what Jan did. This is the top. Okay, I swear I had it right side up. Well, guess what? The little hook to hang it was on the bottom. Whoops! So, you know, it had little screws in it, so I took the little screws out, and it's now on the top, because I didn't want to have to do the whole thing over again. You know, it happens. Oh no, did you catch the lining? Yep, Betty caught the lining, yep. I always am real careful. This is just a little different, you know. So you got to be careful. But yeah, so I had a little trouble with the shadow box today, but I thought it turned out good. And the first time I did the purse, I think I threw the clasp part maybe 3 or 4 times. Things were flying in the sewing room that day because the clasp was being very contrary. So I finally got it in, and so there's a lot of glue on that blue purse. So that's why I didn't show you the inside of it. So the second one went much better, but I got a couple little tricks so that it's easier. So yep, Betty got her lining. Teresa's sewing. Lynn's sewing. This was a really fun project. I really like to do the little teddy bear. Would you like to do the little teddy bear one too, if I can find it again? I think it's still up there. But I think she kind of did it for like Valentine's Day, because as I remember, it was holding a little heart. So I'll look it up and see if I can find it. These were like when they very first came out with the CM550. This was like one of the first couple 3 projects they did. And so it's been quite a long time ago. So then we're going to do the flowers. I think I did those in pink. So we'll do the flowers next. But I really wanted to sew the whole thing out because, yes, for the teddy bear, okay? Yeah, it is really cute. And it's done similarly to this. Because I looked at it some years ago. I'd never done it. And I thought, oh, we'll do that one. That'll be one we'll do maybe. Even though it's maybe kind of Valentine's-y, we'll just do it like this summer or something. I thought it was cute. I just like these little bags. They're so cute. Now, the only thing I haven't found yet, make sure I didn't lose my ribbon. We have ribbon to put on here, too, so I don't want to lose my ribbon. The cat was up here helping me earlier, so I was hoping she didn't take the ribbon and run off with it. So there's, we're looking pretty good. So there's our satin stitches. Yeah, I'll look for the teddy bear tonight after class. I'm pretty sure it's still up there. Okay, so there's our satin stitches. So now we're going to, it's leaves actually next. So this is step number 6, and I used the dark green for the leaves. So it's the leaves first. So I had 2 greens. This was like kind of a palmetto. I think it's called, medium green, so it's a darker green. It's kind of a, not really olivey, but it's kind of a sagey green. It's pretty. So we're going to do the darker leaves. And my machine's sewing much better now, after I changed the needle. So we're going to do the little, that'd be something we could do in embroidery club too, Lynn. We could do that little teddy bear bag. That'd be a fun one for everybody. And then the scan, I think it's probably cut partially out with the scan and cut. I'll look at it again, because I'm pretty sure that's where it was. And then, let's see, yeah, then I'm to the flowers. So we do leaves first, then we do flowers. But this was a really fun project. I'm always looking for something just fun to do, and I thought, wouldn't these be cute to put like a little bit of candy in or something, You don't remember the kit? Yeah, I remember the bag. I'll find it. I think I might have downloaded it when I downloaded this, but I can't remember. So I will look when I get done with class. But I think it is a scan and cut, so I probably should do it on here, because I don't know that a lot of the gals on Embroidery Club have scan and cuts, so we might do that. We might do something different with that, but we can do this one on Sew Along with Jan. Doing the bottom leaves, and then I think, yeah, pink's next. So sorry it takes a little bit to sew out, but I really wanted to sew the whole thing so you could see the whole thing start to finish, because it is a little bit different the way they do it. And that is the one thing with the lining on there like that, that it is pretty easy to catch it. Because normally your lining is kind of, sewn on and then sewn down right away, and this one was kind of left hanging up there, so, but it is neat the way she did it. Alright. Now we're going to do our little flowers. I think it's going to do all of these, so it might take a few minutes to do these. So it'll take, do all the pink flowers, the big ones and the little ones. I thought about like pre-sewing to this point, but I thought, well, I didn't have another kit cut out, and I was going to have to cut another kit, and I thought, you know what, you can just watch the machine sew, and you can ask questions. So if you have any questions, this is a good time to ask them now. Marianne is asking, will this be in the Dropbox, design and instructions both? Yes, so it is in Dropbox. And once I post the video tonight on YouTube, there will also be a link there to the Dropbox where this design, and it is up there. It's up there under Easter egg zipper bag. Okay, so this is up on the Dropbox. And remember the Dropbox, if you're on Facebook, you go to the very first post on Sew Along with Jan, and the link is there, right on the feed, and then it is called Easter egg zipper bag. So now it's going to do the little flowers in the middle. And I'm also going to post tonight, I'll post tonight the directions, not the directions, but the stuff you need for the shadow box. Because there's a little list in there of the stuff you need to make it, and then it also has like the graphic and that kind of stuff that we're going to use. So I'll post that this evening also in Dropbox, and it'll be under Rolled Roses Shadow Box is the name of it. I just didn't have time to do it right before class, so I was still writing the supply list right before class. Now it's doing those cute little flowers in the center. I think we need yellow for the centers too. I was a little worried, that they didn't quilt this, but really it doesn't look puckery at all. I thought maybe it would, when they didn't quilt it. It would be cute quilted also. Now, I used Hobbs batting. I often have, I'm sorry, my camera decided it was going to go out of focus. I use Hobbs batting for my quilting, on my long arms, so that's what I used. It is a little bit poofier, so if you'd use a batting that's a little bit flatter, it would not be, you may not take quite as much chance of it being a little puckery. Yeah, this was really fun because they did it the same way both times. They did the, like this bottom part has the lining and everything, together, and the top, so everything was sewn on in one, and then they do the same thing at the top with the top part, and then we're going to put this little applique on at the top. I think we're doing good on time though. I was figuring we'd be done about 7:30 because we also did scan and cut tonight. So, are there any other questions about scan and cut? Did everybody understand how we did the cutting with the fabric and how we did the scanning? The instructions are pretty good. The screen is just ever so slightly different on the instructions because it was done with the older machine, but they're very, very close. So I think you'll be able to understand if you have a new machine. It doesn't take long to do the little flowers. And then it does like a little running stitch around the outside. Jan says she has all night. Well, that's just fine, Jan. We'll just hang out and sew together. How about that? That's why I do this. I enjoy talking to my friends. And otherwise, I sit at home alone a lot. So I feel like I'm talking to my friends tonight and sewing with my friends. Don't forget, for those of you who haven't, to go to YouTube. If you go to youtube.com and then type in the search box, Sew Along with Jan, it'll come right up. Click on Sew Along with Jan and make sure you subscribe, because then it'll tell you, when the new videos get there. And if you have trouble finding the videos on Facebook, if you have trouble finding the videos on Facebook, you can find them easier on YouTube. Okay. I think the pre-quilted fabric actually might be okay, Marianne. You wouldn't have to use the batting then. So I would not use the batting. Denise, I haven't had a chance to get it washed yet. Denise asked me if I was going to use my new sippy cup. She gave me a new cup. But yeah, I think the pre-quilted fabric would work okay. I just wouldn't use batting then. I would just use the fabric instead. So just going to check to make sure. I just saw it twirling on my screen. Sometimes that scares me with Facebook, so I'm going to go check to see if we're still here. I'll go see if we're still live. It looks like it. Looks like I'm still live, so that's good. Oh. Second, I gotta turn off the sound. There you go. Just want to make sure it's okay. Yeah, I think it would be fine with pre-quilted fabric. And you could actually quilt this in the hoop. You could just do like something with Design Center, and you could just do a quilting over the whole thing, at the bottom, and then at the top. You'd have to do the two pieces separate. Or you could go in, if you have software, and you could just add quilting. That would be fine too. Okay, so now we're going to do the little centers of the flowers here. These little center flowers are the next pieces. So I'm going to make those yellow. Yeah, I had a lot of fun making this. I've been wanting to do these ever since they came out, and I never, I downloaded them, but then I couldn't find them. So I don't know what I did with them. So then I had to go try to find them on the Brother website, which is very difficult. Oh, Debbie's a little behind. Okay, that's fine. So we're working on these little round, the little centers of the flowers here. And I think the next step is, I think we're ready to go on to the next. Yep, so we're ready to go on to the next part of the assembly. But I thought it was neat. So when she left the lining up, then the lining's not caught in the embroidery. So then it covers up the embroidery on the back, which is kind of neat. It was just a different method. But boy, did I read, when I started reading this, I'm like, what is she doing? I remember that day, it was a Sunday afternoon I made this, and I was like, wow. I've never done one of these like this before, but it worked out just fine. I can't remember the gal that did it. It was a gal, Karen Jennings Wilson, and her The name of her business is called Disorderly Threads. So maybe she has other things. I didn't go look at her web. Maybe she has a website. I'll have to go look. All right. So now we've got all that done. So now we're ready to go on to, we're in step number 7 in the instructions. I'm going to pull this out just a second. I got these little tails sticking up. I don't want to get caught in anything. So another one sticking up. I think we got that one. Okay. Oops, there's one here. Ooh, there's a couple tails. All right. So now it says, turn hoop over to the back, fold the lining bottom down, and pin or tape in place. So we're just going to take this out. I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to take some more of this tape off that's on the inside. I knew there was tape under here, but that's okay. I can always get it off. If it's kind of inside there, it doesn't matter. It's underneath the batting, so I don't mind it. I didn't want it on underneath just the fabric because you can kind of see it. So I think this I'll just leave in there. That's fine. All right, so I'm going to pull this down now. Pull this back just a little bit so you can see. I'm going to pull this back down, and I'm going to kind of finger press. Oops, I got a cat hair in here. I'm going to kind of finger press it so that it's down nice and snug. And this will be inside the bag, so you won't be able to see any of the stitching through there. I've got kind of lightweight colors, a light color here, so. And then I'm going to tape this down at the bottom. Cat hair and all, I think. Gigi likes to help me cut things out on the cutting table, so she's always right in the middle of everything. All right, so get that pulled down, and then make it snug so that it doesn't, and then I'm just going to tape it down here at the bottom. Okay. Like that. Turn it back in, and then it says to, on the front, lay the, okay, so now we're going to start doing, let's see, that fold the lining bottom down and pin on tape the back. Okay, on the front, lay the front top fabric right side down towards stabilizer. So now we're going to start working up here, okay? So I'm going to remove this tape so I don't have that underneath my, just my plain fabric. Because the tape on the back was in it, but that's okay, because you won't see it. All right, so now we're going to start working up here. And it says, on the front, lay the front top fabric right side towards the stabilizer with the long edge lining up with the edge of the zipper. So, in other words, this is the top part. It's that skinnier one that was wide and skinny. So we're going to lay this up here along the edge of the zipper. And I'm just going to put a little piece of tape up there, hold it in place, if I can get it to come off here. So we'll just put this up here. And then it says to, before we haven't sewn yet, turn the hoop over and looking at the back, lay the lining fabric right side towards the stabilizer with the long edge lining up with the edge of the zipper. So in other words, we're going to do the same thing we did at the bottom with these two short pieces. I'm going to flip this over. And I'm going to put the other piece, now, like again, mine is matching. I just did the same color on the inside. I happen to have a bunch of this fabric, so I didn't have anything else I liked for the lining, and I thought this will work just fine. And then we're going to tape this one on. Now, this one's a little short, so be very careful when you flip it over that you don't get a flipper-do under there, okay? So I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to push this down. And then we're going to put this back in the machine. A second here, and we'll get it back in the machine, and then I'm going to lift the hoop up and make sure that we didn't get anything flipped around in there. So we'll just lay it down, make sure everything's laying flat under there, okay, like that. And then it says, oops, we're going to turn the page. We're on step number 10 in the instructions. She used green thread, so I'm just going to change to my green thread. And you could use, I've got yellow in here. I might just use the yellow, because we're going to use green in a little bit. I think that's what I did before. It doesn't matter, because you're not really going to see it. Because I had yellow fabric or thread in here already, so I'll leave the yellow in it. And then stitch 9. That is going to stitch which secures the top edge of the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to check under here again just to make sure nothing flipped over or anything. I think we're good. All right. And then it's going to sew across the top of the zipper. And this is number 9. Number 9 in the machine, I should say. It does like a triple stitch there, so it's well secured. Okay, so let's see if we can get all this tape off of here. This time I might take the tape off. This little one was kind of, remember, it was a little hard. I had some tape in mine and it was a little hard. See on the underneath? Okay. Now the trick with this, we want this to stay down, okay? Don't want it up in where we're going to be sewing. So we want that to stay down. And it doesn't show, so you have to kind of watch it. Don't let it flip up on you. I'll check it underneath again. Make sure it's nice and flat. Okay. So then it says now we're going to lay the smallest piece of batting, that little piece of batting again. We're going to do the flipping again up with the batting in it. So I'm going to lay this batting in here, that little skinny one. And it does say to take it out of the hoop, so I think I will have to just to get it up there. And then I want to do, again, I'm going to finger press that up where the zipper is. I'm going to make sure my batting stays put here. Like that. Okay, and then I'm going to tape this down up here at the top of the hoop. Okay, again, I'm going to make sure that my lining stays flat under here. We want it pulled down so that it's not in our way. Okay, I think we got this part done with the batting. Not sure if I've got my batting in there. I may have to check that batting. I think my batting scooted on me. Let's see. I think my batting scooted. It did. Felt kind of funny. So this was an unusual way of doing batting. So it wanted to scoot just a little bit on me. So I had to kind of, I did this a couple of times with this little one especially because it's kind of small. The big one was a little easier. All right. There we go. I think I'm happier with that. Okay. Let's check that underneath one, make sure it doesn't get stuck on anything. Okay, so now we are going to switch to the green now because we're going to put that other little piece of applique material in there. And this is where, for those of you who did not have your scanning chart, this will be another one of the, alternate, we'll have to go back to get the placement line and then back up to do a tack down line and then trim. Oops. I'm having trouble with the cutter on the side of my machine. Do you notice I use both hands? It doesn't, I need to get a new blade put in there and I just haven't gotten it done yet. Okay, so there is, the next step then is number 10 and it's going to do the tack down line for this little piece. I'm sewing through the batting. Okay, so this is the placement line. But remember, if you don't have your scanning cut, you would just back up and do this one again. Yes, you could, Pat. That would be fine. I sometimes get things a little gooey with I use glue stick a lot, but with batting, sometimes I get kind of messy, so I don't usually use it with batting. So, but yeah, that would work too. But it's fine now, I think. So, okay. So now I'm going to take this out. Give me a second here. I'm going to put my threads up here. I'm going to take this out. Take this over to my little wool pressing mat, and I'm going to put in my little applique piece with my tiny iron. If I can get the backing off. This backing really stayed on now. All lined up. You want to be pretty precise with this. I think it looks good. So there's my little applique. Then I'm going to slide this in. I'm being very, very careful. That I'm not losing that little flipper under there. So, you know, we got that little thing underneath there. We got to be careful. Okay. Is everybody doing okay yet? So then it says, we ironed on the applique. That was step number 11. And then it says stitch number 11, which is going to be my satin stitches up here. If you need to trim in the hoop, remember you need to back up and do number 10 again and then you can trim, okay? All right, so we're ready to do the satin stitches. So this is going to do the satin stitches on this little applique. The lining is still down. That one that's on the back is still down. We're not sewing through that lining. That's going to be the next step. We're going to turn it over and we're going to pull that lining up, okay? So we're going across here. We're getting close to being done. This is one of the next steps is where you have to watch me. Make sure I don't forget to unzip the zipper, guys. All my little pieces here. Make sure I got everything still here. I also don't want to forget to put the ribbon on. I almost forgot that the other night. And I think I have there it is. I almost thought I lost my batting, but I think I found it. All right, so there's the satin stitch on the little applique piece. So now it says, remove the hoop from the machine. Oops, I have to get the right one. Okay, we're on step number 12. Stitch the satin stitching, and then it says turn the hoop over to the back, fold the upper lining up to the top of the hoop, and pin in place or tape. So now we're going to take this back out. I'm going to flip this over, and now it's time to put the lining up right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finger press that up so it's nice and beautiful down there, and then I'm going to tape this at the top so that I won't have a flip. Okay, I'm just going to tape it on the top of the hoop, lay it back over, and we'll make sure everything's nice and flat under there when we put it in the machine. That was step number 12 on the instructions. Step number 13, this is where the important one is, guys. Turn the hoop over to the front. At this time, see, I highlighted it so I wouldn't forget. At this time, you need to open your zipper 2/3 of the way. Also fold your 1/2 by 4-inch ribbon piece in half, forming a loop, and tape the raw edges into place along the top edge of your hoop with the looped end touching the zipper and center the ribbon. So we are going to open the zipper up about 2/3 of the way. So remember, it's kind of coming down here, so you don't want to get it too close over on this side because it's going to come down along here, okay? And I kind of put the tab this way so that it wouldn't catch, okay? So I've got it opened, and then I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to fold it in half, and it says to put it up. I think it said to do it like along the zipper teeth. So place along the top edge of your hoop with the looped end touching the zipper and center the ribbon. So the ribbon can be centered, you know, roughly right on that little curve of our top applique there. So I'm just going to bring it in like this. Okay. And I think it was plenty long, as I remember, so we'll put it about right in there. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little piece of tape on that. Oh, I thought I had another piece of tape. Guess I'll have to get one. And we'll tape that down. And you want to tape all the way across it so that it doesn't get caught. Okay, so we're going to go up here. And tape across that. Okay, so the loop is down here by the zipper, okay, the fold. Then it says on the front side of the hoop, this is step number 14, on the front side of the hoop, lay the back fabric right side down inside the hoop. Next, lay the largest batting on top of that. So I have my piece here. I'm going to lay, this is going to be the back of the bag. So we're going to lay this down first. Make sure it covers everything. Okay. And then it says to lay the largest batting on top of that. Cat hair and all. Okay. Make sure it's up high enough to catch up there. I think so. Okay. Because this is the back. Next, lay the extra no-show mesh. So she used tearaway here. I used no-show mesh. So I just added another piece of the no-show mesh over the whole thing. Like this. Right? Over the batting. So that way you don't catch your batting and stuff. Okay? And then she had you do all of those layers. And I've got my zipper open and I've got my ribbon on. Okay, and it says return the hoop to the machine and sew out the next step, which sews completely around the whole design. All right, so we're going to sew all of this down. And she just left her green thread in. I think that's what I did too. So, and I am going to kind of hold this. I didn't tape anything, but I am going to kind of hold this so it doesn't catch anywhere. Okay. Because it is kind of poofy. If you're using a thinner batting, I think it might actually work just a little better than my Hobbs. My Hobbs was a little bit poofy for this. So I did have to kind of pull it out and then hold it a little bit to keep it from poofing on me. Because she did like a really, really small little stitch. I got a little pucker down here, but when you turn it, you didn't see it. I had one before too. And then it's sewed through the zipper. It goes all the way around it twice. I only have one piece left, so that's good, right? That we didn't miss anything. So now it says, so we stitched out number 12. That was number 12. And now it says remove the hoop from the machine and turn it over so you're looking at the back. Lay the lining back piece right sides towards the stabilizer and tape or pin in place. So now we're going to flip this over like this. Okay, and this is going to be the backing. And so I'm going to put the backing right side down on the back. And you can see where we're going here. And I've got tape already on the back, so I'm just going to use this tape to tape this one too, if I can get it off. Okay. Cat hair and all. She was really helping me that day. All right. So I'm going to tape that one on. Okay, now this one again, when you go to flip this over, do it carefully so you don't get any flipper-doos, okay? And I'm just going to leave the green thread in, it doesn't matter. You can put, I could have used the yellow, but it really doesn't show because it's such small stitches she's using, so. All right. Okay, so I've got this. I'm going to check underneath here, make sure it nothing flipped over for me. Okay, I think we're good. Then we're going to turn the page to the top of the next page. It says return to the machine. Stitch out the last step. This stitch is almost all the way around the design, leaving a little space opening for turning. So it's going to leave a little space down here to turn through the lining, and then we're going to turn through the zipper. All right. So this was just a little different method of doing a zipper bag. I have done some similar to this, but I've never done them when you sew like all the stuff on the front and the back at the same time, because I found that very interesting. But it sure worked. You just have to be a little careful when you're putting it in and out of the machine. Find the scissors here. Do the trimming. All right. So see, it left this open at the bottom there, and you'll want to hand stitch that shut. Okay. So then when we take this out of the hoop, it says remove the hoop, trim the edges. So we're going to move it from the hoop, get all this tape off the back here. You can see where it sewed the back, that left the bottom open there. Okay, get this off. I'm going to take this out of the hoop. Whoops, got a little more tape here, just a second. There was a lot of tape on this. Tape off the ribbon here. Alright, see if I got some more tape down here, I think. It's not coming out yet. There we go. Okay, so then one thing that she said was important was to go ahead and we're going to cut a 1/4 inch around the outside. Okay? You're going to be cutting through the zipper. It's okay. So I'm going to cut around and I'm going to leave a 1/4 inch, about a 1/4 inch all the way around. And what I would tell you is I usually just use my scissors for this. That seems to work the best for me. Okay, and then I'm not going to do the hand sewing, but I'll show you how it goes through. And you've seen my finished bag, so I'll do the turning. But the one thing she tells you to do is to clip your curves, because so this is a curved piece, and we want to clip those curves so that it turns neatly. So around the edge here, I'm just going to take my scissors and do my little clips like you do when you're easing a sleeve or something, because this is all kind of round and you want it to turn nice. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to clip though past where where the turning is. I'm going to leave that unclipped. I'm just going to clip at the top for now, because when I do it's hard for me to do the hand sewing with the clips in it. So I'm doing it about every 1/4 inch or so, all the way around. It's just about there. Let's see, I'm down here. It's going to be about right here. So, oops, where did I leave off? There we go. Okay. So then the next thing it says is you need to clip when we get this turned. So we're going to turn this through the lining. Okay, so could you use pinking shears? Yeah, it might work, Denise. I don't have a pair of pinking shears that are sharp enough to do anything anymore. So yeah, the pinking shears might work. I used to do that all the time, but mine are so dull now. So I'm going to turn this through the lining. Get my little handy dandy point turner here. Okay, so I'm turning this through the lining first. Let me get it all smooth. Like that, okay? And then you do need to remove the stabilizer under the zipper, because there's a little piece of a stabilizer in there, and you want to take your little pointy scissors and just be real careful that you don't cut into your zipper, okay? You just want to cut the stabilizer. So we're going to take that out. I think I'm going to start on this side. Just be careful not to cut your zipper. I thought the zippers went in really nice. They're so even, and they're far enough apart that they open and close real easily. Okay, we're going to go along this side. Just don't clip your fabric either. Have to get around that zipper pull. There we go. Just going to take that little chunk of stabilizer out of there. It's coming. There we go. Get on the side. And then like that. There we go. So then, of course, the next step I would do is I would iron it a little bit, and then I'm going to turn this down and I would then whip stitch this shut, okay, on the bottom. So I just whip stitch this shut, and I'm going to do that after class. You don't need to watch me do that part. I don't like to hand sew very well. And I'm so poor at it, you don't need to watch me, okay? And then we're going to take it, of course, and I'm not going to turn this one. You have to finish opening your zipper, and then you're going to turn it right side out through the zipper. And here's the bag. All lined, okay? And I just lined mine with the same color, but you could have a different color in there. I just didn't have anything I liked, so I didn't, for some reason, I didn't have a lot of Easter colors. And then I just gave it a nice press with the iron so that it looks nice and smooth, and all the seams look nice. But isn't that cute? Such a cute project. And I thought it'd be really fun for Easter. You could put some candy in there. You could, put some, older kids probably like, money in there instead of candy. So, or maybe candy and money. So anyway, I just thought that was a really fun project. So what do you think? Is everybody working, going to have a couple of these little bags done for Easter? We have a whole week to get ready. All right, so we're all done. And we did it. See, it's not like quilted or anything on the back, but I thought it looked just real nice. You give it a little press in the back and it smooths all out. Mine's always kind of wrinkly, once I turn it. So after I turned it, gave it a nice press with the iron, and it just turned out really great. So, okay. Was there anything else we missed? Did you remove the bag? Nope, I think we got everything. You just hand stitch your little opening shut and then turn the whole bag inside out through the zipper. Okay? All right. So, next week, we will not have class. Remember, next week is Easter, so we're going to take Easter off. And then the following week, we're going to start the 50s purse. And that'll be a sewing project. It's not embroidery, it's just sewing. So, and if anybody needs that book, a lot of you have it. It's called the Clasp Purse Book. So it's up on the website. I put the links to it. So if you need that book, you can purchase it. And then if you need the clasp, please make sure you order early because I may have to order more of them. So go ahead and order if you want one. I know I've got quite a few in stock, but I just want to make sure that I have enough for everybody. So I may need to order some more this week. So, okay, and those are up on the website too. I put the links up on the group. All right, so happy Easter, everybody, next week. We'll have a little break, and then we'll come back and do some sewing. So thanks so much for coming tonight. It was really fun, and I hope you enjoyed the little Easter bags. So good night, everybody. Thank you.